Governor Scott Walker has been pranked by a blogger posing as David Koch. And this is, of course, from the Koch brothers that we talked about. And it's 20 minutes or more total, so we can't play the whole thing. It would be half of our show. It's available online, so I encourage you to check it out. But I am going to play a little bit of it for you. And this really is brilliant. And there's some people said, well, it's just funny and we can't really learn anything from it. I completely reject that, Lewis. There is so much to be said about what we hear from David Walker. And here's just a few seconds of what it sounded like.
Hi, it's Scott Walker.
Scott, David Koch, how are you?
Hey, David. I'm good. And yourself?
I'm very well. A little disheartened by the situation there, but what's the latest?
We're actually hanging pretty tough. I mean, amazingly, there's a much smaller group of protesters, almost all of whom are in from other states today. The state assembly is taking the bill up, getting it all the way to the last point.
All right, so the conversation goes on and on and on, and I don't want to bore you with it, but there are a number of things that we can deduce from that. Number one is Walker doesn't even bat an eye when Koch describes the opposition as Democrat bastards, first of all. And, I get it. That's not a huge deal to most people. This is clearly a partisan phone call, whatever. Then Walker reveals that he and other Republicans, Lewis, are actually looking at whether they can charge an ethics code violation or even a felony if unions are paying for the food and lodging or any of the Democratic state senators that left the state to prevent the vote. And he's also sending out notices to some 5,000 or 6,000 state workers, letting them know that they're at risk of layoff. So he's revealing here that he really is playing dirty in a lot of ways. So what started out as a prank, a joke, we're learning a ton about what is going on behind the scenes with Walker.
Yeah, it's great.
He also said, he's basically saying he's setting a trap for the Wisconsin Democrats. He says he's mulling over inviting the Senate and Assembly Democrats and GOP leaders to sit down and talk, but only if the Senate Democrats come back to work. And then he reveals what the real game plan is, right? Which is that the Republicans they may be able to use this procedural move to go forward with their proposal. And it's amazing. Then the fake David Koch actually says, we were thinking about the crowds, about planting some troublemakers in the crowds. And Walker says, yeah, we thought about that. So Walker also admits he was thinking about putting fake troublemakers in the crowd because we heard on Monday from Frank Emspak from Workers Independent News that actually the protesters, the pro-union protesters are completely calm, Lewis. They're not stirring up any trouble. So what better thing than have the governor himself or his affiliates plant people to make the pro-union protesters look bad?
Yeah, I hope everybody who voted for him catches wind of this.
I'm getting emails from people who voted for him, and they're saying, I can't wait to vote for the guy again. They love what he is doing. Can you believe that? I can. I mean, it's completely believable to me.
Yeah, I guess I can.
And what else? He has a plan to lie to Senate Democrats and pass the bill when they're not aware of the vote. This is about 7 minutes into the interview. Walker describes a plan created by his chief of staff to call Senate Democrats back to hear what they have to say. And once they come back to the state assembly, they'd be able to pass the bill while Walker is discussing stuff with Democrats. I mean, it's unbelievable. And at the end, in the epic quid pro quo acceptance, in a sign that Walker is so used to the scratch me on the back, I'll scratch yours stuff, that he doesn't even flinch, Lewis, when David Koch says, after all this is over, we'll fly you out to California and really show you a good time. And Walker just says, that would be outstanding. That would really be outstanding. Confirming, Lewis, that, come on, we know this is all because of where Walker gets his funding. The Koch brothers and their PACs are involved. The system is bankrupt. The system is corrupt. The Koch brothers aren't bankrupt, that's for sure.
This fake caller obviously is very good at doing this type of thing.
You know what's interesting? When I heard it, it didn't actually it sounded almost like this blogger was surprised to even have gotten through. And he didn't sound that comfortable to me, to be honest.
Well,
but it worked out brilliantly.
Right. I'm sure it can be somewhat nerve-wracking. I mean, you have to play it off as if you're this person, and then he starts saying things like this, and you have to keep it going and milk him for more information. But other politicians had better be on their toes, because I think other people might take a crack at doing the same thing.
Well, we saw Sarah Palin did that fake interview. It was supposedly someone
from France, but clearly this person had a French-Canadian accent.
They claimed to be actually Sarkozy. That's right.
Yeah.
And it was just a radio guy from Montreal.
It was great.
The other thing is that watchdog groups are actually exploring whether campaign finance, and ethic laws may have been broken by Scott Walker during this fake call. Did he reveal things that might indicate Walker himself is guilty of something? And the former Attorney General of Wisconsin, Peg Lautenschlager, told John Nichols from The Nation last night that she is in the reviewing process of this, and that she found, by looking at the transcript, what she believes to be multiple ethics, election law, and labor law violations. And she's actually going to propose, she may already have done it, that the Government Accountability Board begin to review the ethics violations. And we are hearing so much, Lewis, coming out of the woodwork that suggests Scott Walker, ethics violations may not be a foreign thing to Scott Walker. In other words, there are allegations that he was actually kicked out of Marquette University for cheating, that the story we're getting about why he innocently just decided to go into the workforce, so to speak, is not true. Allegedly kicked out for cheating, seems completely comfortable with the quid pro quo from David Koch. Hey, you wrap up the union busting for us, we'll bring you out to California. We'll show you a great time. Very comfortable with it. So listen, if you know that, let me actually, Lewis, this is a great opportunity for me to strategically crowbar in how unbiased I am in my allegations of who should and should not be investigated and charged. Because with WikiLeaks, remember I said I don't believe WikiLeaks committed a crime. I believe I am in favor of the documents being released, but you know what? If Bradley Manning broke a law, the Army private first class who allegedly released the documents to WikiLeaks, if he broke the law, no matter what I think about the release, he deserves the punishment that is legally entitled to him.
Right.
And now I am saying the same thing. And it is not just because Scott Walker is a Republican. It is not because this is a union-busting thing that I'm not in favor of.
If he's guilty of something, he's guilty of something.
If laws were broken, and I encourage investigations in all cases.
Yeah, but perhaps, like we talked about earlier, the whole legality of the recording could be brought up. So we'll see what will happen.
Yeah, and that's another issue, of course. On today's bonus show, we will talk about a new story that indicates Fox News CEO Roger Ailes was pressured a publisher to lie and to withhold information. We'll talk about the remains of an 11,000-year-old child being found. And my question is, do those who believe the Bible is literally true have a resentment when they watch programs or articles or read National Geographic or watch the History Channel, where the context is not rather that the Earth is 6,000 years old? Does that cause resentment? We'll also give you some behind-the-scenes information on all of today's interviews, and you are not going to want to miss what's been going on behind the scenes with some of these interviews, including the Westboro Baptist Church. So go to davidpakman.com/membership. Make sure you get the bonus show. You'll also get the podcast commercial free. And that'll be, short of getting you into a Krakatoa concert, membership will it provides a lot of stuff.
Right. The Krakatoa concert is the
it's
pinnacle.
Separate.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll take a break. davidpakman.com. Back after this with plenty more.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.